Okay.
Okay, call the meeting to order. It's 5:40 p.m. Our apologies for technical difficulties. Disclosure of pecuniary interests.
Is this the conflict of interest? Item number 4.2, 4.2 in the in-camera session.
Thank you. So noted. Mover to approve the agenda. All in favor? Carried. We have a motion to move in camera. We just need a mover for that.
Yes, moved by Councillor Chason, resolved that the Committee of the Whole does hereby adopt the agenda for the Committee of the Whole in-camera meeting held on Tuesday, July 14th. I'm sorry, Mayor, that's a verbal, excuse me.
Yeah, we already did verbal for the agenda. The in-camera is to move in camera.
Is verbal as well.
Okay, so moved by Robert.
Resolved that this committee proceed in camera at 5:41 p.m. in order to address the following matters pertaining to legal issue, one item, code of conduct complaint related to personnel matter about an identifiable individual. Legal issue, one item, sale of land, a trade secret of scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information.
All in favor? Carried. Yeah. We got to close those doors.
Yes. We can go down the didn't do any of these resolutions. Did we do the minutes of the in-camera we adopted?
Mover. Moved by Robert. All in favor?
654.
650. Or sorry, 6.
Okay, so then
6:55, we will return to open session.
normally, Mayor, I believe we pass normally a motion like this that's been signed, that the following minutes of the committee hall in-camera meetings of council be adopted as presented. Minutes of the committee of the whole meeting held Tuesday, June 9th, contained on pages 1, 2 of the minute book, and minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of council held on Thursday, June 25th, as contained on pages 1, 2 of the minute book. This is to approve the in-camera minutes from previous meetings.
Okay. Are we on, are we on this? Yep. We should be.
Okay.
So we return to open session. We have a resolution to return. We need a resolution to return.
There is
We
a
have it.
whole resolution on the list.
Moved by Verbal that the Council Corporation Municipality of Wawa does hereby return to the corporate planning meeting at 6:56 p.m.
And the mover is? Okay.
Mitch.
Mitch. Thank you.
All in favor? Carried.
No.
So we're going to have the presentation from the Integrity Commissioner. Are we going to dial in to get them online? Or we just accept that without, we are dialing back in?
Yes, I'm sorry, I have to text her to tell her to dial back in.
We're not receiving it here, we're receiving it later on the agenda.
But she's going to,
Yes.
speak to it.
Do we need to dial into the phone?
They have holding, yeah, so please turn your phone on.
Have the number?
Yeah, I right here.
Welcome to Bell Conferencing Solutions. Please. Thank you. The moderator has not yet joined the conference. If you are, please enter your PIN. You will now be placed into the conference.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, is that Nuala and Antoinette with us?
This is Manuela. Okay.
Okay.
Maurice should call him.
Waiting to connect with the two people in Sault Ste. Marie.
Are we out of camera?
No,
Yeah,
we're out of
we're out of
camera.
camera.
We're out of camera. We're into back.
Okay.
to regular.
Ron, do you
Or-
want
or-
to see who else is on, just so I can.
If there are other members of staff on the line, you could just identify yourself for the record, please.
This is Manuela, and the YouTube channel is still showing that you're in camera.
Jason will take care of that. Thank you, Manuel.
You're welcome.
Hello,
And who's there?
Kevin here.
Okay, Kevin, thank you.
We'll give a couple numbers and there's no answer.
Hi, Mila. It's Maureen. Could, yes, please have you and Antoinette call in. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, bye.
Good evening, it's Nuala Kenny at Blunt Ironside Consulting. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. We are now at item 5 on our agenda, which is the presentation from the Integrity Commissioner report. So Antoinette, if you would like to go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. It's Antoinette Blunt speaking. I am the Integrity Commissioner for the municipality of Wawa. My recent appointment began in January 29th, 2020 and extends until December 21st, 2022. As Integrity Commissioner, I received a request for an inquiry on November 8th, 2019. This was a request from a complainant who was alleging that Councillor Hatfield violated the municipality's code of conduct, the council staff relations policy, and the municipal conflict of interest act. It took a number of months to accumulate all the required data to initiate this inquiry, which began after April 23rd, 2020. At that point in time, I believed I had enough information to proceed, and subsequent to that, I undertook interviews with the complainant, with Councillor Hatfield, who was named as the respondent in these allegations, and I also interviewed a number of witnesses that were identified by the complainant. I do want to advise everyone at this point in time that the complainant has asked to remain anonymous, and as such will not be named in my report or in this presentation. And that is certainly the right of the complainant to make that request. So the investigation was undertaken. All parties that were interviewed by me during this process were reminded of the requirement to maintain confidence throughout the process and related to any of the discussions that were held with me during the interviews. At the end of the process, everyone was advised that a report would be made by me to council, and that is consistent with the Municipality of Wawa's Integrity Commissioner Protocol, which is bylaw 3175-19 and can be found on the municipality municipality's website, which outlines the responsibilities of the Integrity Commissioner and the process for the inquiry. So at the conclusion of this inquiry or investigation, what I found was that throughout this, that there was not enough information or no evidence that would support that there was any violation of the Municipal Act or the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. There have been a number of statements made by the complainant and by witnesses that were unable to be established. And established means where there was no evidence or we were unable to determine through witness statements that these allegations be substantiated in any way. What did come out, though, in conclusion, was that there were a number of comments made by the respondent, Councillor Hatfield, that amounted to what I would call as gossip or sharing of information related to the respondent in the community. What I have concluded is on the basis of the balance of probability, which is a lower standard of determining if there has been a violation of a policy that would normally be found in civil law rather than in a criminal law proceeding. So it's a lesser standard of violation. But what I have found, though, is that there were violations of the staff council relations policy and violations of the code of conduct for council. And those violations amounted to a lack of respect for the complainant based on information that was shared through discussions and or gossip in the community. As a result of the findings of my inquiry, I have made a number of recommendations for consideration by council, and it's my understanding that they will be considered following presentation of this report. And that concludes the presentation that I have to make tonight.
Well, thank you. Council will take certainly the time to review your report. According to policy, we will be posting the report. CEO will make sure that happens. And we will bring this forward either next month or later when appropriate for discussion and action. So thank you very much. There won't be any further discussion on it tonight. We'll take this into consideration and follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That concludes our representations tonight. If we may be excused, we'll hang up, or if you need questions, we'll wait around.
Well, that's unless there are any questions. Council will take some time to review the report. We just received it late today, and action on the item will come in future meetings. So thank you very much, Antoinette and Nuala, and certainly good evening, and we'll carry on with our meeting.
Thank you. That's our pleasure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council. Good evening, and we'll hang up. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 6, adoption of minutes, corporate planning meeting of Tuesday, June 9th, 2020.
Resolved that the following minutes for the corporate planning committee meeting be adopted as presented. Minutes of the corporate planning committee meeting held on Tuesday, June 9th, 2020, as contained on pages 1 to 4, inclusive of the minute book. We need a mover.
Mover, please. Moved by Bill. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Item 7, business arising out of previous meeting, CEO update, COVID-19. That will be a verbal update.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. There's been a lot of activity in terms of positive news regarding the COVID-19 activity at the provincial level. As you may be aware, we're moving to phase 3, effective this Friday, July 17th. Phase 3 includes the opening of many businesses in the community who are giving a positive response to the fact that restaurants can provide in-service customer service, that some of the bars can open. Some of the other businesses can make health and safety regulations so they can open safely in our community as well in the province. In those districts that the Premier has designated may open safely. Not all areas of the province will be open, but the Algoma district, showing low numbers of the spread of COVID, is able to move to phase 3. I've sent council a link to a report that the province has shared, just outlining all the exact businesses that are allowed to open and what is happening in phase 3. Within that document, you'll see that the municipality is certainly able now to consider a return to work plan and a safe opening plan for some of our services that may include our playground equipment, that may include our municipal facilities. Our library is permitted now to consider how it may open and serve the public in a safe manner. So there's many guidelines and regulations that are provided to municipalities in Ontario to make sure we implement the health and safety procedures that we need to make sure that we can open safely to the public. Having just received notice of moving to phase 3 this Monday or yesterday, staff is working on a safe and health and safety policies and procedures so we can look at each of our facilities and how and when we will open back to the public and what services we feel that we can provide to the public in a very safe manner. So we will bring forward to council a report in the future on how we look to open up our services back to the community in a safe manner and likely in a staged approach. So we'll report to council on that in the future. But with that, I also wanted to share that the Algoma Health Unit, as I'm sure we're all aware by now, has requested that all businesses and industries make masks mandatory for serving customers and their employees effective 12:01 midnight on Friday, July 19th. So the Algoma Health Unit, along with many health units in the province of Ontario, are making masks mandatory. The municipality supports that direction and will be passing for its own employees a mandatory use of masks for our employees, in particular when we serve the public, and to consider using them at times in the workforce between employees when necessary. So we have a recommended policy that we're drafting that will be shared with all our employees by this Friday, so everyone's aware of our mask policy. Each business in the community is being asked to, by the health unit, to create their own policies and procedures for their own businesses. But there is no mandatory enforcement of this policy. This policy is being enforced by the businesses themselves. No one will be charged, no business will be charged if they don't follow the policy. Each business can decide if it wants to enforce its policy. And some that I've talked to are saying they won't serve customers if they're not wearing masks, where others are saying they're not going to stop serving customers who don't wear masks, but they're going to encourage wearing a mask. So this, Mayor and Council, is really a step taken by the health unit to help us educate each other, educate our customers, educate our employees that wearing masks is one step we can take to ensure that COVID-19 does not spread in the community as we move to the reopening of many of our services, to ensure that a second wave or the possible spread of COVID-19 is kept to a minimum. I want to share that with council tonight. We will be bringing forward reports to council as we review the facilities that the municipality owns on what we're going to do to make sure we reopen the services to our taxpayers in a graduated and safe manner, and we'll report that on to you in the future.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Lori, did you say they were opening restaurants?
I believe so. In the regulations I read, it's set out, there's a maximum number of patrons. You must still comply with physical distancing requirements. You're still supposed to have a mandatory mask use policy in your restaurant, but of course you can take the mask down to eat and drink, but you're supposed to put it back on. So yes, Councillor Hatfield, in the regulations, there's a list of all the businesses and services that can reopen. There are still some that are not being permitted to open, such as amusement parks. But as far as I understand the legislation, even casinos can reopen, except the card dealing type of activity where you're sitting close together. There is a comprehensive list in the document that I shared with you, and I will provide council a further report on that.
We will be having regional mayors meetings by teleconference on the 27th of this month. And the topic of the mask will be discussed there. The Algoma Public Health, they're doing this because of the provincial, they have the right to do this because of the provincial emergency, or is it strictly from the health unit itself?
I'm not sure I know the answer to that, Mayor. As far as I understand, it's something the health units have the authority to mandate. And what it said in the correspondence I received is that as phase 3 opens, they will reconsider that policy.
Okay.
So I'm not sure that's answering you exactly.
I'm just wondering, like, some municipalities have done it on their own, that where they have made it mandatory from the community resolution.
Sunbury did the first one.
That's right. So we'll be talking about that within, with the other municipalities in the area. Because one of the things that is recommended is that regionally communities that tend to have a lot of interaction, that you try to have the same policy, so that you're not showing up in another community and not prepared to wear a mask. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Under new business, 8.1 Northeast Superior Regional Broadband Network, there is just a notice there with the various steps of what's been completed so far. There's more up-to-date information.
There's a motion tonight for council to consider on the regular meeting that Jason's prepared to provide more background on.
Okay.
Yeah, so essentially, I just wrote a small recap memo for council. Northeast Superior Regional Broadband Network is currently in phase 3 of the project. They've currently entered into a non-binding MOU with Crown Capital, which is the vendor that was selected to move forward with the project. They're at a point now where they've gotten legal counsel to be able to form all the different levels of the organization that need to be put in place. But the legal counsel is going to cost $80,000. So currently, Crown Capital has agreed to pay for those legal costs with the condition that the members in the Northeast Regional Broadband group enter into a binding MOU with Crown Capital, which means that they would be the vendor that is selected to move forward with it. Currently in the process of getting funding. If funding does not come through, then the 10 members would be responsible for the legal fees. If all 10 members agree to the resolution. So if for some reason the project doesn't go forward, then we would be committed to pay our 10th of that $80,000, which would be $8,000. If the project does move forward, then the MOU that was presented to council during the presentation that Melanie Pilon presented to, we would be agreeing to move forward with that
So, yeah, that's the way I read it. So we are a member, right?
We are a member of the regional broadband group. It's just now, basically now that the rubber meets the road now, right? So up to this point, we've been in a non-binding MOU with Crown Capital and with the organization. Now they're basically coming to each one of the members and asking them, to basically say that, yes, we're committed to moving forward with this project. And the legal costs would be covered by Crown Capital.
So have we set any money aside for this project?
We set aside the first portion of the first phase of the project, which was $3,000. We have not put aside this portion because this is just a new cost that was presented to all the communities in the group just lately. So now each one of the members is going to either their councils or the band leaders and basically seeing if everybody's in agreement to move forward. If all 10 agree to move forward, then we take 1/10 of the cost. In the end, if only 5 members agree to move forward, then so we're kind of we don't know who said yes or who's committing to move forward at this point. It's essentially the group is bringing this to council and saying these are the additional costs at the moment that we need to consider. Crown Capital is agreeing to pay those costs as long as we enter into
Considering the issues related to broadband with COVID-19 and all the online education, we certainly should, this project came along at the right time to, work on getting more broadband to all the various communities, and it's certainly needed now. And we often hear government talking about making sure that there's equity throughout the province in terms of access to broadband. So hopefully, I certainly support this project, and as it moves forward, that the government will support it as well and make this happen for all 10 communities. We have 5 First Nations, 5 municipalities. It's a wonderful project. Everybody's working together on it, and there's definitely a need for it.
We don't have any idea when it's all going to happen.
Or during the process of it, we've applied for funding. We haven't, the group hasn't received a response whether they've been successful for that phase 3 of the project. We're anticipating that the funding is going to be successful and then we'll move forward. I believe they're looking at a fall sometime to get an answer as far as.
So the current situation, Mayor alluded to it, I think there's should be support come down the tube because all this online learning and the way the world's changed now.
Yep.
So we got to keep pushing ahead.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you, Jason. So that will be coming up in the consent agenda. 8.2, report for the month of June. Alex, welcome, Alex.
Thanks.
I took you for a couple of months.
It's good to be back. Welcome to year that's been quite low here on here the last couple of months. So, I mostly wanted to put this report together because it has a whole bunch of pictures in it. Some of them are pictures of the waterfront signage, some of them are pictures of the trusses, and even snuck in pictures of some compressor cylinders. Just showing you guys the difference of what happened in number 2. So starting off with the waterfront project, you can see I only got 1 proof left. These are all of the proofs except for there's 1 for a map that's going into the Tourist Information Center that is not ready yet. So I'd like everybody to take a look at them. You can feedback. These are relatively final if they're part of the same slide deck that you guys have seen a couple times. These are the final proofs for what each side is specifically. We've also sent these to the funders, so we're waiting for everybody else's approval as well. And then once we're back, we've also sent this to our sign contractor. So they are starting, essentially the pre-fabrication. Once everybody's approved these, then they get fabricated, we should start seeing them in August. So that's our rough timeline for the signs of the waterfront project. There's a couple bits and pieces as well that I talked about with the waterfront project. We have received details on the plan to repair lines to each stairs, so we're quite happy to have actually get that going. That was supposed to happen a couple weeks ago, so that'll start relatively soon. We're waiting on a final timeline to go with that plan, but we know now that it will be done.
Alex, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said about the stairs.
Sorry, we received the final plan to finish the deficiencies on the stairs, the essentially like the repair plan of the stairs, and so we know now that we'll be able to meet our final deadline essentially. We have to sign that off and send it to the engineer, and that's the last step. So a couple little details to tweak in there, but nothing major. We're happy with the plan. Essentially, everybody's moving forward. Sorry, you guys can just hop in with any questions if you like.
I looked at your pictures, that the signs are really nice, very clear, and I like the way they're presented.
Okay, moving on to the Luna Trust painting. So that project is now complete. So we're very happy with the results. They did a pretty speedy job. We also did a job when we did our final inspection with the engineer. There was only 5 or 6 pieces that they had no problem fixing right away. And it was actually a couple of hours for the engineer to come back the next day and do the final inspection. So that is passed and it is now complete. They were also nice enough to give us a little bit of extra fees for our human safety. So we should be able to years out of that project. I included some pictures of the kind of in between, and I have a whole rack of pictures from start to finish. If anybody's really interested in that.
I can't believe how much plastic they rolled out across the ice surface and everything else. Is that all in our landfill?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
Everything was very, very well protected. They had a couple layers too. They had some on the floor, get some down from the glass, and even some from the top of the trusses to go all the way down. They were sanding and things like that. So, it looks a lot nicer there. I gotta say, the lights turned on.
Good.
Our return to sport framework. So we've had a whole bunch of different frameworks released over the last little while. Curling has released, hockey has released, skating has released. There's not a dance organization, but gymnastics is close enough, so we can do that one. And then we've also got stuff from the ORFA, which is the Ontario Recreational Facilities Association, which they came out with a 48-page essentially checklist to get your facility ready to go back, as well as some documents from public health and safety organizations across Ontario. So we have 500 to 600 pages of review to do. Already started with a lot of the highlighting sections and places that things that really apply to us versus things that are more announced that don't apply. We've also started talking with a lot of user groups just to feel them out, where they're at, what their concerns are, things like that. We haven't done anything formal yet. They've been very much like hardware store conversations and grocery store conversations, but starting to really get going on that front. We have a timeline. We're expecting to be able to compile that information over the next 2 weeks and then have a draft framework to go out to all the user groups for consultation before the start of August. Hopefully in a week or 2, everybody's basically said in August we want to start knowing what we're doing. So hopefully within a week or 2 we'll get some good feedback from all the user groups and we'll have a final plan essentially sent to council, hopefully before the August council meeting at the very least, but certainly before September. We've made all of our plans here at the arena to make sure that we're ready for a normal ice season start in September. We can always push that back, but if you're caught without all the supplies that you need and all the prep to build not done before September, then we're going to be in trouble. So we'll be ready to go as long as the rules are relatively reasonable or close to the season at our normal time. But something I really want to reinforce to council, the ORFA says at the first line of their document, don't open until you're ready. And so the opening is now way less about things like having compressors ready and having supplies here, and a lot more about making sure you've got the right policies and procedures in place to have people to build whatever way, shape, or form that looks like. So there's going to be a lot of work to do in the next couple of weeks to really get a good understanding of what that's going to look like. course is gonna have to be flexible too, because if everything changes in September, then we're gonna have much more. So it's gonna be an interesting set of couple months here, probably some of the most challenging we've had.
I'm sorry. I'm concerned about hockey. If those young children aren't playing anybody, are they gonna continue? What do you think, Pat?
Oh, you just gotta let the process happen and see where this all goes. Nobody
Yeah,
has a
but,
crystal ball. I mean.
no, but what I'm thinking is, are we gonna put the ice in at a cost? And curling rink in, it's a big cost, and then find out the kids aren't going to join hockey because they're not playing anybody. They're just practicing all the time. Like, that's, I worry about that.
But I think that's part of what Alex just said in terms of reviewing all of the protocols from different sports as to, how they'll start up. I certainly, in Alex's report, he talks that, about delaying the putting in the ice, and I think that's a wise move. I think we'll certainly find out how phase 3 is going in the province, and what September will look like in terms of children going to school, and then our communities participating in recreational activities. I certainly agree, we don't want to go through that big expense of putting in ice early and then finding that we just have to take it out because it's closed. But I've heard rumors in the community that there won't be any ice at all, but that's not something that I would want to see happen. If we can open up safely and provide a recreational outlet for residents, we certainly want to try to do that. But most important is the safety of the users and the safety of our staff. So certainly look forward to seeing your recommendations. And even if you, Alex, I invite you, if you want to sit around the table with Maureen, one of the other topics with the marriage group is what the communities are doing and how they're preparing for the fall. It'd be interesting to hear other perspectives and what the other communities are doing.
Yeah, and to support Alex's his conversation, you still can't sit and do nothing. Yes, to repair the building because the stage 3 goes according to plan and you didn't repair, then it's behind the 8 ball. So it's kind of a.
I'd much rather be ahead and then push it back with everything ready to go than be scrambling to get everything ready to go.
Exactly.
I agree with that, right? I think that's, to your point, Mr. Mayor, the importance of engaging with the user groups and making sure that we have that dialogue. Because you're absolutely right. I hate to go put the ice in and nobody actually wants to show up, right? So that's something where that user group consultation is so important to see where everybody's at, right? Is everybody going to be using, because right? If they're splitting up groups, you might actually go against a situation where people are using more ice time because they have the whole team on the ice at once, right? It could be less. We don't know until we really get into it with user groups and have that conversation. And again, right, it's our place to, serve the community and meet those needs. But right now, it's I can't tell you what the needs are, and I don't think we're really gonna know until, that start of September when things really start, right? So it's a good time now to have that conversation to be able to be prepared for September, whatever that may or may not look like.
You're absolutely correct, because communities and countries are making all kinds of changes to deal with it. There's a report in Italy where planning on spending millions and millions of dollars to hire more teachers to keep class sizes smaller. And certainly that's one option here, is that fewer people on the ice. So when that happens, the other thing that we would have to adjust is, we have policies on terms of cost, but maybe we'll have to review that as well to ensure that we can still have recreation. I'm interested also, Alex, in your comment about some of the training. Are you doing that in terms of information you're getting out of recreation groups, or are you working with Home Public Health in terms of preparing your own staff for the reopening?
So right now, the ORFA has developed several online courses. We used to just have one, and now they have 4. Some of them are really basic stuff like point contact cleaning, recommendations for community centers about just the cleaning aspect. But there's been, 5 or 6 webinars from organizations like Hockey Canada as well, organizations like Curl Ontario. Actually, Curl Ontario released their video with 1,000 people trying to log into the same webinar and crash the whole thing. So there's starting to be lots of that information available, and that's something that it's not just for me to review, right? It's for all of the staff here to review to get an understanding of what the requirements are for different sports and how we can either schedule our build or adapt our operations to meet those requirements. So it's something that, we really need everybody on board here to be able to do that in a safe manner. And so those are the bits and pieces of training for everybody. It's not just for myself, it's not just for the operators, but even when the ops. We need to schedule the build in a whole different way based on different requirements and how we do things. That's something that they're intimately involved with. So it's a really, it's a multifaceted approach, especially because we have so many different things going on in this building at almost always the same time. So how do we really make sure that everything is being done safely within that broad spectrum? So it's from a lot of different sources, and there's lots of good information out there. There's starting to be more recreation-specific sources as we get closer to September, and traditionally recreation starts opening up again in a facility versus.
It's going to be a challenge, but we'll be ready for it. And work hard. Everybody is working hard. Appreciate the effort and staying on top of it.
I hope we can entertain our youth. Because there've been really a lot of challenges the last couple of months.
Is there anything else, Alex, that you want to comment on?
No, I think there's only 2 bits and pieces. The first one, because it's stage 3, playgrounds are reopening. There's still caution tape up right now because they're only reopening Friday. Today, actually, this afternoon, we did our full inspection of the full annual service, which we've been putting off until they reopen. So all of the current playgrounds are now ready to go. So on Friday, we will be able to do that. Other stuff at the marina, we've done 5 or 6 different things. We've integrated a new pass system. Of course, there's some growing pains, right? There's some things that we still need to adjust, but that's actually been integrated, and you'll see the agreement with the operator on the regular meeting. The washrooms have gone down there. We've also done some work in the fish creek building, work with some boards on the boardwalk. A lot of the basic maintenance items that we've taken over now because we just. So just bits and pieces like that we're slowly, fixing some of those issues in the ground.
Alex, what are you doing at Queen's Park at the playground? There's a great big old,
Yeah, there's something in it. Today, actually, we recorded footage for the swing set.
Okay.
Yeah, so we took the swing sets away a couple years ago because all the footage had rusted out. So instead of replacing those swing sets in the same location where you have the sliding hill and relocating the poles, we cut a section out the side of the playground. We installed the swing set footage today. We put a bunch of sand there, and then tomorrow the next week we can add it up. So by the time the park's open, that infrastructure will be ready to go as well.
Very good. Well, thanks, Alex. Great report. Good luck with all that work. We're going to move to item 8.3 and 8.4. So Manuela, can ask you to, if you could just give an overview for council as to why you made the various suggestions to update the general reserve and reserve fund. So you can go ahead and.
Okay. Sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing. Are you able to hear me?
We can hear you well. I think you're getting some feedback from up here, but go ahead. You're coming through very clear.
Okay, good. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to introduce the reserve and reserve fund policy, or my report regarding it. Attached to the report is a draft policy. It's a new policy for us, but one thing that we should have had for a long time. So the purpose of the policy is guidance for the management, administration, establishment, and accounting for reserves and reserve funds. The policy itself defines the basic types of reserves, outlines responsibilities for the municipal council council, the CAO, treasurer, the department directors. Policy also outlines how to create a new reserve, how to deal with a reserve that met its purpose and needs to be closed, how to allocate interest for reserves, the reporting requirements and the review requirements for the reserve and reserve funds. With a minimum, the suggestion is with a minimum review requirement at least every 4 years, so that new councils coming in can be introduced to reserves and reserve funds and have a little bit of education as to how they work. So Schedule A attached to the policy is where we would like the reserves to end up once the policy is adopted. It will be reviewed annually. The schedule will stay part of the policy and be reviewed annually with recommendations to be brought forward to council regarding any changes that senior management feels or the treasurer CAO feels need to be made. Appendix A of this report is a listing of the reserves that we have now, along with any information that we were able to find. A lot of them are quite old. I think some of them dated back into the 60s. So it was quite a job to find information on them, but with a concerted effort, we were able to do that and come up with some good recommendations on how to deal with some of these reserves going forward. So some, even though they're old, still have a very good purpose, and that's also explained in the appendix. So the appendix will make a recommendation as to whether to keep a reserve or to combine it with another reserve, or to create a new reserve. So creation of new reserves, some of them are building reserves or equipment reserves. For example, equipment firefighting, which makes it just very clear that the equipment is for firefighting, it's not for anything else. Or equipment public works, it's geared to public works. You know, there's no question. And also the purpose is outlined, which is something that historically was not always done. So there was always big questions around what can we use these reserves for. So we've tried to clean all that up and take away the questions and have reserves that are usable going forward. The second report that's attached is regarding surpluses and deficits. So surplus is where we'd like to be every year, and that's a good thing. That means that we've not spent more than what we've earned. But we also have to know how to deal with that surplus and need to have direction as to how to deal with that surplus. So this reserve is just a short reserve. It references to the reserve because some of that surplus will be put into the reserve and dealt with there. So I think really what I'm trying to do is encourage council to review both policies and reach out to me with any questions. You can reach me at the office or bring questions to the next council meeting or by email. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well, thank you, Manuela. Appreciate it.
Oh, I was able to hear you then.
Can you hear us?
Yes, now I can.
Okay. So thank you very much. That was a lot of work, and we will be receiving your report in a regular meeting, and encourage councillors to study it, and if they have questions, we'll get back to you before we adopt the policy. So thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move to item 8.5, request from Phenom regarding concerns with the Blue Box transition. I don't know if you recall when we first started talking about this, there was an issue that companies would only have to collect 80% of what they produced, and one of the comments was, well, by the time they get to Barrie, they've got 80%. What are they going to do in Northern Ontario? Because it would be extremely expensive to get around all the communities, you know, to collect the material. So I certainly believe that Phenom has the interests of all our communities in mind when they want to address this. You know, we're paying when we buy the product, we're paying to recycle it, but we're not getting recycling in Northern Ontario. So I certainly will support this recommendation and support Phenom on this area. I don't know if there are any other comments. So this will be coming forward in the consent agenda as well. Item 8.6, the Township of Dougal regarding the DSAP overseeing Northern Ontario OPP detachments. I never saw the original letters regarding this because this hasn't come up on the any of the DSAP agendas in the past 2 or 3 months. But I certainly agree that if we want to have policing to be more dealing locally with individuals, that the number of communities involved with regards to, overseeing the detachment. I have right now, Wawa has their committee, but, if it has to be Superior East, then we can at least we're already working together as a mayor's group, and we can deal with that to try to deal with it in a much larger area.
I don't think DSAP needs to have that extra.
Well, it could be a lot of extra work for sure, but I certainly agree with the Dougal Township that we should probably support it. And again, that will be in the consent agenda. Are there any other comments?
I agree with you. There, I read it and I don't want that to be.
Okay. So, nothing under business arising. Our next meeting is Tuesday, August the 11th. And if I could have a mover to adjourn at 7:44. Moved by Pat, all in favor? Gary, thank you. I think we can move straight into our regular council meeting. Call the meeting to order at 7:45. Are there any disclosure of pecuniary interests?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have one.
Yes.
At our last meeting of June 9th, I failed to declare a potential interest on item 12.5 on the consent agenda. It was one that when I read through it, I missed that particular heading, and I should have declared at that time. So I did not vote on that item when it came up. So that's all I'd like to point out.
Thank you. That's so noted. Thank you. Approval of the agenda. We have a resolution.
Resolved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Tate. Resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council scheduled for Tuesday, July 14, 2020 be approved as amended.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. There's no delegations or presentations. Announcements and giving of notice. Any announcements? Again, I just want to thank staff for all the work they're doing at this particular time. It's very challenging, and it's good to see all the work that's taking place in our community. Item number 5, also we listed our August meeting, which will be Tuesday, August the 11th for corporate and regular. Item 6.1, adoption of minutes. We have a resolution.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Chasson. Resolved that the following minutes of the meetings of council be adopted as presented. A, minutes of a special meeting of council held on Friday, June 5th, 2020, as contained on pages 1 to 3, inclusive of the minute book. B, minutes of a regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, June 9th, 2020, as contained on pages 1 to 10, inclusive of the minute book. And C, minutes of a special meeting of council held on Thursday, June 25th, 2020, as contained on pages 1 to 3, inclusive of the minute book.
Any questions or comment? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Consent agenda resolution, please.
Resolved that the items listed under the consent agenda, items 7.2 to 7.6, be approved as recommended.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Motion to receive staff reports.
Moved by Councillor Tate, second by Councillor Chason. Resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa does hereby receive the following staff reports, a copy of which are attached here too. AP 2020-09, report for the month of June 2020. MB 2020-02, draft policy, general reserves and reserve funds. MB 2020-03, draft policy, surplus and deficit.
All in favor? Carried, thank you. Nothing in business arising. New business resolution to receive the report on closed meeting investigation.
Moved by Councillor Reese, seconded by Councillor Tate. Resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa does hereby receive the closed meeting investigation report 2020-01 dated July 7th, 2020, a copy of which is attached here too. And further, that a copy of the report of the closed meeting investigator be forwarded to the clerk. The recommendation that the clerk and council regularly consult the municipal procedural bylaw to ensure closed meeting obligations are followed. And further, that council will refrain from using the term executive committee unless it formally enacts such a committee. And further, that the report will be made available to the public by posting on the municipal website.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. 10.2, receive integrity commissioner report.
Resolved by Councillor Chason, seconded by Councillor Tate. Resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa does hereby receive the Integrity Commissioner report, a copy of which is attached here too. And further, that the report will be made available to the public by posting on the municipal website.
Questions? All in favor? Carried. Nothing under notice of motion. Bylaws, first, second, and third reading.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Tate. Resolved that the following bylaws be introduced and read a first, second, and third time and finally passed, and that the mayor and acting clerk do sign and seal the same. Any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. Bylaw number 3322-20 to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on the 25th day of June 2020 and the 14th day of July 2020. Bylaw number 3323-20 to delegate authority to provide marriage solemnization services to Daniel McCoy and Mr. Regis Edmund. Bylaw number 3324-20 to enter into agreement with Bucks Marina, care of Mr. Brad Buck, for portions of the operation of the Harry McCluskey Municipal Marina and associated facilities. Bylaw number 3325-20 to enter into a management agreement with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans for the long-term management of marina slips.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. No closed session, business arising, nothing. Next meeting date will be Tuesday, August the 11th. And your motion to adjourn.
Moved by Councillor Chason, resolved that the meeting be adjourned at 7:50 p.m.
All in favor? Carried, thank you. Thank you, Manuela and Kevin. Have a good evening.